Hey everyone, so for our first Revit thing, we're actually going to make a family because everything in Revit is itself a family. So come over to here if you don't have Revit open, search for Revit, it should be Revit 2020, and go ahead. When you click on that, this page will come up. I want you to go over to Families and click on New. It's going to give you a whole bunch of templates you can pick to start your family file. Please pick generic model and hit open. All right, so here we are looking at our reference level, which is, you can think of it kind of like your floor plan. It's your beginning area. The first thing we want to do, we're going to be making little dog houses. So the first thing you are going to want to do is set up some reference planes for yourself that your geometry is going to be based on. So type in RP and click, come straight down, click again. Click straight down, click again. Zooming in and out is with your middle mouse scroll pad. If you hold down your scroll pad, you can pan. Okay, do the same thing in the other direction. So you're going to have a reference plane here and a reference plane there. So we want these reference planes to be evenly spaced around these center ones. See, the center ones are pinned. They're kind of like the center point of your model that are set up ahead of time. So in order to do that, I'm going to dimension them and show you, and that'll tell the computer what they want to be. So I'm going to hit DI for dimension. I'm going to click here, click in the center, click on the end, and then click anywhere else outside, just out here. See this little Q thing that comes up? You want to hit that. And now these two, if I were to measure each one, are going to be the same length. But you'll notice they're like weird lengths. And let's say I want to set that to be a whole number, a real depth I know. So I'm going to dimension that bigger area, come out to here. And I'm going to set up this as a parameter. So it's something that I can change between my models. So I'm going to come over here to Family Types, click on that. Come over to this button for a new parameter, click on that. And let's call this one Depth. Hit OK. Oops, sorry, that was a new type, my bad. So let's delete that type. Let's create a new type. This is type 1, cool. All right, so parameters are down here. So I'm going to click on new parameter. Family parameter is good. Call this one depth. And you want to make sure it says length here and hit OK. While we're at it, let's do depth, width, and height. So this one is going to be width. If I can spell. Okay, and then height. Okay, so the depth, let's make it 3 feet. Height, let's make it 4 feet. Width, let's make it 2.5 feet. Okay, so these are parameters that I can change with every type, and I'll show you that in a second. But let's just start making our first type. Hit OK. So I'm now going to click on this measurement I put in, and over here you see this thing that says label. Click on that, change it to depth, and you'll notice that it's going to make that 3 feet, and it'll be around the center point. So this is 1.5 feet, this is 1.5 feet. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So click these two, hit EQ so that they're equal, dimension the outer bit, click on it, and then click, this one is width. All right, great. So now we have the width and the depth of our doghouse. We're going to create an extrusion to start making that doghouse. I'm going to create extrusion. This whole little area, drawing area, comes up. I'm going to click on my rectangle tool. I want to lock these sides to those reference planes. I'm now going to hit the offset tool. 1 inch is good here. And if you hold tab, it should select all of them and go all to the inside. And hit the green button. So we've set the width and the depth, but we don't know the height yet. So if we look in 3D, it's assigned it an arbitrary height. I want to be able to control that. So I'm going to come over here to my project browser and go to front view. And I'm going to set up another reference plane. So type in RP, click straight across, click. I'm going to dimension from the reference plane up to the new reference levels that I made. Click on this, click on the number itself and change that label to height. And then I'm going to type in AL for align. You can also find that up here. Where's a line up here? This one's a line. So I can click this, click the top of that, and click the little lock button. So now I have this, these 4 walls of my dog thing, my dog house, and let's make a new type just so you can see what happens. So I'm going to go over here and create a new type, type 2, and I'm going to type in some new numbers. So let's say my depth is 5 feet, my height is 2 feet, and my width is 4 feet. So if I hit apply here, you'll notice that the whole thing changed. And if I look in here, it now has the depth of 5 feet, width of 4 feet, height of 2 feet. So that all worked, which is great. Let's create a roof for this. So I'm going to go to create, making another extrusion. I'm going to draw a line here. This time, just come anywhere up on here, come anywhere down on there. So I can also dimension angles. So if I go to annotate this tab and then go to angular dimension, I'm going to dimension that angle. I'm going to dimension this angle. If I click on this line, this turns blue. Now I can click on it and change it. So I'm going to make that 45 and hit enter. And on here, I want to lock that so I know that it'll always be 45. Same thing over here. I'm going to click on that line. This turns blue. I'm going to type in 45, hit enter. I'm going to click on this, click on this and lock it. Great. So anytime you're in this kind of mode, you're going to need to get out of it. So go back to the Modify tab and click the green button. In my top view, so back to Floor Plan Ref Level, I noticed my extrusion doesn't have a depth yet. So I'm going to go to my Align button, align to this reference plane, click on that, click the lock, this reference plane, click on that, click the lock. Okay, so now if I go to my doghouse, here it is. I'm going to go back over here, go to type 1, hit OK, and you'll notice it's still able to change the other type, so that's good. Okay, so we have one more kind of complicated thing to add in, which is the door itself. So I'm going to go into my front view to add that, and it's going to be called something called a void. In order to make this, I want to make one more reference line, actually a couple more reference lines for myself. So I'm going to type in RP for a reference plane. I want one for the outside of the hole on both sides. I want one for the top of the hole. Oops, that one's not straight. One for the top of the hole, and then I want one more that's going to show where the arc ends, and I'll explain that in a second. So here, I want this to always be the same width, the side of this door. So I'm going to type in DI, dimension that, dimension this, and same thing for the top. I imagine that being a constant. So I'm going to make that always 6 inches. So over here, I'm going to type in 6 inches. Here, I'm going to type in 6 inches. And when I click on this, I want to lock it. Click on this, lock it. Make this 6 inches. And then I want to lock it. Okay, this one is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to be related to the width. So basically, imagine there's an arc happening here. So if there's an arc happening here, I want it to be a certain, the height of it, I want to be related to the width of this. So I'm going to go back into my family types and create a new parameter. And this one I'm going to call arc height. Hit OK. So rather than typing a value in here, I'm going to come over here to formula and say that it equals the width of this. I'm going to divide it by 4. So I would just type in equals width and then divide it by 4 and hit OK. Oh, it's gate sensitive, so make sure you type whatever you typed in for that parameter. Okay, and it automatically does the math for me there, which is great. So hit OK. So I'm going to dimension what this arc length is here. I'm now going to click on this, click this, change it to arc height. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that void form that I have these all set up. So I'm going to create void forms, void extrusion. I'm going to click here, click here, click here, click here. And then to make my arc, mine was being fussy, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to click here, come out. And then click here, come out. And that messed up the middle, so I should do a little bit less. So let's make this like 7 inches, 6 inches. Definitely not 8 inches. 10 inches. Let's just try it again. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one, click here, click at that intersection, and then come out a little ways. And this I'm going to maybe add a little bit more, and then I'm going to mirror this here. Okay, I'm going to type in AL, click on that, and then I want to hover over until I get the point and lock it. Same thing here, click here, hover over until I get the point and lock it. Click here, hover until the point, I get the point and lock it. Okay, click the green button. The extrusion distance we're still going to have to fix. So I'm going to go into my ref level. I want this to come out past this top, and just to make sure that it will always be related to that wall, I'm going to put into my reference planes, RP, dimension them. And we're going to make this 2 inches, and you can lock that. Same thing here. And again, like it just needs to be past the hole to cut out of it, that's all. So it could even be an inch, it could be 10 inches, doesn't really matter here, but we want to make sure it's going through that wall. Okay, type in AL, click here, lock it, click here, click there, lock it. Okay, let's look in 3D. This hole actually needs to cut out of here. So I'm going to hit cut and click on the thing, click on my hole. Okay, there's my little doghouse. So now let's flex it. So flexing means changing the types. Let's see if this is going to work. Let's change it to type 2 and hit apply. And let's see, it looks like it worked. Let's make sure. So if I go over to my front view, yep, you can see that the arc is hitting this point that was predetermined, that point. That's all great. Let's make another type. So this time I'm going to make one that's purposely going to break it just so you see what happens. So I said that it has to be 6 inches on each side of here. So what if I made something that was only a foot wide? I think it's going to break. So I'm going to create a new type 3. I'm going to make my width 1 foot, my height 10 feet, and my depth 10 feet. And hit OK. See how those constraints are not that satisfied? As soon as this happens, click cancel and don't keep going. If I click remove constraints and hit OK, you'll notice it's going to break my geometry. So this no longer is related to everything else that's happening. It's doing its own thing. You're missing the walls. So I essentially just broke my model. So I'm going to Control Z out of that. And so I know there's some limits on this model, right? Like it always has to be at least a little more than a foot. So let's try to stretch it a little bit. So what if I made a new type 3, and let's say I'm going to make that width just like 1 feet 4 inches. Let's see if that will work. If I hit OK, yeah, it got kind of funky at the top, but it's essentially still somehow connected to it. All right. So I have made my family. I have a few different types of it. I now want to load it into a project. So we don't have any projects, but there should be Let's see, if I hit open, will it give me the, no, it won't. Okay, so I'm going to go to new, so do a file, new, change this to architectural template, hit OK. Here is my first floor level. I'm looking at a floor plan right now, so I'm going to go over to floor. And this is fine, generic is good. I'm going to come over here, click on the rectangle tool, make a big floor, click the green button. I now am going to go back to my doghouse file and click here, load into project and close. Do you want to save changes? Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm going to just click to place my file. And if I look in 3D, there is my doghouse. And if I click on it, over here under properties, it tells me what it is, and it tells me the type. I can change the type, so I can make it into any of these other types. I can also go to edit type, duplicate it, and I can make a whole new type from here and change everything in this. So I could make the depth 10 feet, height 10 feet, width 15 feet, why not? And hit OK. And I can make a super giant doghouse. So that is it for this tutorial. I would like you to save this file and upload it to Canvas. Thanks.